In a far part of the universe, there was a powerful group of alien species known as the Telsari Dominion. This empire had lasted for thousands of years. It stretched across many galaxies and ruled over hundreds of different worlds. The Dominion was led by three ancient species who were older than most stars. These leaders believed they were the wisest, the strongest, and the most advanced beings in space. Their rule was strict but organized, and they believed it would last forever. The Dominion grew through careful talks and sometimes through war. If a world agreed to follow their laws, they were welcomed. If not, they were forced to obey. Peace was important, but control was more important. Over time, they shaped the stars in their own image, building cities in space and placing their signs on every planet they claimed. But hidden deep inside their history were stories that the leaders rarely spoke about. Long ago, before the Dominion had grown so large, there had been tales of a different kind of being. These creatures were called humans. Some said they came from a blue world that no longer existed. Others believed they were not real at all. According to legend, humans didn't rule with ships or weapons. They ruled with ideas. With only their minds and voices, they changed galaxies. They were said to be clever, stubborn, and unbreakable. But no one had seen one in a long time. Many believed they had all vanished or never existed to begin with. Over the years, these stories faded. They became bedtime tales or warnings for young aliens who didn't listen. The council, made up of the three ruling species, said the legends were old lies. They told their people to stop asking questions. The past, they said, was not important. What mattered was the present, and the Dominion was now the center of the universe. Still, not everyone believed the council. One newer species in the Dominion, known as the Sirelings, were curious and brave. They were not as old as the other rulers, but they were smart and full of wonder. The Sirelings had soft gray skin, long limbs, and bright yellow eyes that saw far into space. They loved science and discovery. When strange signals were found coming from a quiet part of the galaxy, they were the first to notice. These signals were unlike anything seen before. They were not messages in any known language. They were full of numbers, rhythms, and shapes. The patterns repeated again and again. It felt like something, or someone, was trying to be found. The Sirelings sent one of their best science ships to check it out. The vessel moved through the dark space near the edge of the galaxy. It passed silent stars and cold rocks. Then it reached an old, broken system. Planets were empty. Satellites drifted with no power. Strange stations floated like ghosts, cracked and silent. There was no life, no heat, no sound, just shadows. The crew of the ship searched carefully. At first, they found nothing. But then something caught their attention. A long black object was drifting slowly between the stars. Its surface was smooth and sharp. It looked like a piece of metal shaped by time and fire. There were no lights, no movement, but on its side a short phrase had been carved into the dark steel. "We were never gone." The Sireland crew was shocked. The message was written in an old Earth language, one they had seen only in ancient records. It was the language of the humans, but how could it be? The humans were just a story, a myth, a name in dusty books. Now this object floated here, silent but real, with a message that sounded more like a warning than a greeting. The Sirelings sent their report to the council right away. The news traveled quickly across Dominion space. Many were afraid, some were curious, but the leaders, the oldest and proudest species, met in secret. They argued, they worried. If the stories were true and the humans were still out there, everything could change. But they didn't want panic. They didn't want their people to believe in ghosts. So they chose silence. They told the public that the object was space trash. They said it was a trick or an error. They ordered the Ireland team to stop talking. The leaders believed the best way to protect their rule was to bury the truth once again. After all, myths could not harm them. But they were wrong. A few months later, strange things began to happen. Ships traveling through quiet areas of space stopped sending messages. Communication stations on the edge of the galaxy went dark. Spaceports received strange energy readings. None of these events could be explained. The Council sent patrol ships, but they found nothing. Only stars shining coldly above empty systems. Then came something new, warp signatures that didn't match any known technology. Fast, curved trails of light appeared across the sky, moving in ways that no Dominion ship could follow. They didn't look like invaders, but they weren't friendly either. These signs were everywhere, yet always just out of reach. In some places, people reported seeing black ships, smooth and silent, watching from a distance before vanishing. No signals, no weapons, just quiet observation. These ships left behind no marks, only questions. Who were they? What did they want? Why now? The old stories returned. Elders began telling tales once whispered in fear, of beings who never gave up, of a species who vanished not because they lost, but because they chose to disappear. And now, it seemed, they were back. The Council still tried to hide the truth. They said it was nonsense. They warned planets not to believe rumors, but fear spread like fire. If the humans had returned, what would they do next? The people of the Dominion had always believed in power. They believed the oldest races knew best. But now, something older than even the Council was reaching across the stars. Something that had been forgotten. Something that remembered. And then, in one final moment of silence before the storm, the stars themselves seemed to blink. In dozens of places across space, systems shut down, not from attack, but from something bigger, something invisible. Ships stopped moving. Lights flickered, machines paused, and then just as suddenly everything started again, but differently. Things worked better, faster, cleaner. It was as if someone had reached into their systems, corrected the errors, and left without a trace. The black ships did not speak. They did not fire. They did not ask for anything. They just arrived. They watched. And the galaxy felt their presence like a heartbeat growing louder. The legends had returned. But they were no longer just legends. They were real. And they had come not with guns or armies, but with purpose. After the strange black ships appeared across the galaxy, the people of the Telsari Dominion became restless. For many years they had trusted their leaders. The Council, made up of the oldest and most powerful species, had always said that they were the protectors of order and peace. They made the rules. They decided who could live on which planets. They kept watch over technology, trade, and travel. Now, even the Council did not have answers. More and more black ships were seen near quiet moons, around gas giants, and in deep space between the stars. These ships never attacked. They never spoke. They floated silently and watched. Sometimes they came close to Dominion patrol ships, but nothing happened. They just hovered nearby, then disappeared. People began to whisper. Some believed these ships belonged to the lost humans. Others said it was a new enemy trying to scare the Dominion. A few thought it was just a trick or a test. But one thing was clear. Whoever controlled those ships was not afraid of the Council. The Sirens, who first found the message on the metal object, wanted to learn more. Their scientists studied the signals left behind after the black ships vanished. The energy signatures were different from anything seen before. They were smooth, quiet, and nearly perfect. Dominion ships left sharp, rough trails in space when they moved. These ships left soft, curved traces that faded almost instantly. It was as if space itself welcomed them. One day, deep in a small part of space near a forgotten nebula, a mining colony stopped answering calls. The colony was on a moon that had little value. It held small amounts of gas and metals, and only a few workers lived there. The last message from the colony was short and strange. It said that lights had appeared in the sky and that all machines had shut down. After that, there was silence. The Council sent a military scout ship to check. It arrived 2 days later. The crew found the colony still standing. Nothing was broken. All the buildings were in place, but the people were gone. There were no signs of fighting, no blood, no damage, just empty halls, untouched food, and warm beds that had not been slept in. The machines had started working again as if nothing had happened, but not a single worker could be found. Even stranger, a new message was found carved into the side of the main tower. It said, "You left us behind. We did not forget." The words were written in the human language again. This message was more serious than the first. It sounded like someone was angry, like someone had been waiting for a very long time. This was the moment when the Council could no longer hide the truth. News of the colony spread fast. People across the Dominion began to demand answers. If the humans had returned, why were they being so quiet? Why were they taking people without a sound? What did they want? The oldest members of the Council met in secret. They searched the hidden parts of their records. Deep in locked vaults, they found old reports from thousands of years ago. These documents spoke of humans who had once explored the stars with passion and power. They were a young species, but full of energy. They made friends quickly, but they also stood up for what they believed was right. At first, the humans were part of the early Dominion. They helped build ships and share ideas. But problems started when the humans asked too many questions. They did not always agree with the rules. They wanted freedom. They wanted each world to choose its own path. This caused trouble. The Council at the time did not like being challenged. They believed that order must come before freedom. In secret, they pushed the humans out. They used lies and fear to turn others against them. They made humans seem dangerous and wild. Over time, the humans left or were made to disappear. Their worlds were forgotten and their names were erased from history books. Now it seemed they had returned. The Council feared that if the people learned the truth, they would lose control. They needed a plan, so they created a team of scientists, spies, and warriors. This team was ordered to track the black ships and learn everything they could. They were told not to fight, only to watch. The team traveled across several systems, following the faint trails the ships left behind. They saw empty stations with signs of recent repair. They found broken satellites that had been fixed without warning. On one old space station, they found fresh food and clean water left on a table, but no one there. It was clear the black ships were not trying to harm anyone. They were fixing what was broken. They were helping, but without asking or explaining. This confused the team. Why would a lost group of humans hide while giving help? Then something happened that changed everything. In a busy system called Tarles, home to many trade ships and planets, something massive appeared. A fleet of over 100 black ships exited warp space at the same moment. Each one was shaped like a spear, dark and smooth. They moved together like a school of fish, silent and perfect. No one had seen so many ships arrive all at once. People panicked. Civilian ships fled. Military stations powered up their shields. The Council ordered all weapons to remain off for now. The Black Fleet did not move toward the planets. It stopped near the center of the system and waited. Then slowly, a giant ship appeared behind the others. It was larger than anything the Dominion had. Its surface shimmered like oil on water, reflecting stars in strange colors. It looked more like a shadow than a machine. This ship floated forward and sent a signal that could be heard on every planet and station. It was not a voice, it was not words, it was a feeling. All who heard it felt the same thing. It was like remembering something long forgotten. It was like feeling sorrow and strength at the same time. It was as if the ship had a heart, and that heart was beating just for them. People cried, some knelt, others stood frozen. Even machines paused, unsure how to respond. Then, just as quickly as it began, the signal stopped. The fleet waited a moment longer, then turned as one and vanished into warp space again. No message was left, no action taken, but the meaning was clear. They were not hiding anymore. They had shown their size, their skill, and their choice to not attack. They had shown that they were everywhere, and yet nowhere. Across the Dominion, fear turned to awe. Schools began to teach the old stories again. Artists painted images of human explorers standing among the stars. Children asked their parents if the legends were true. The people began to hope. But not everyone welcomed this change. Some military leaders demanded action. They said the black ships were a threat. They wanted to build new weapons and prepare for war. Others warned that fighting might lead to disaster. They believed it was better to understand first. The council was divided. One group wanted peace and learning. Another wanted control and silence. They argued for days. In the end, they agreed on one thing: had to speak to the humans. A ship was built, designed to carry a message of peace. It was sent to follow the last known path of the fleet. The ship held gifts, books, and history records. It also held a record of the Council's apology for past mistakes. They hoped the humans would forgive. Weeks passed with no word. Then one day, the ship returned without a crew. It was gently landed back at its home port. Inside, everything was untouched. The gifts were gone. The apology record had been replaced with something else. A small cube sat in the center of the control room. When powered on, the cube showed a moving image of Earth, a blue planet with white clouds and green lands. The picture zoomed across its surface, showing forests, oceans, mountains, and cities filled with light. Then it showed a great ship lifting off from Earth and rising into space. Below the ship were 4 words written in every known language. "We remember who we are." That was all. But it was enough. The Dominion had tried to forget the humans. Now the humans had returned to remind them. They were not here to destroy. They were not here to rule. They were here to be seen. And the galaxy would never be the same. After the return of the strange Black Fleet, the galaxy felt different. People across many planets were still trying to understand what had happened. Some were excited, while others were scared. The black ships had come and gone like shadows, but the memory of their visit stayed strong. On many worlds, the humans were talked about every day. Their name, once thought to be a myth, was now said with wonder or fear. Shops sold books with old stories of humans. Some children played games where they pretended to be brave space travelers. Some schools added lessons about Earth, even though no one really knew where it was now. Paintings of tall, strong humans walking among the stars were placed in museums. People wanted to believe they had returned for a good reason. But others thought they had come back to take revenge. The Council of the Dominion tried to stay calm. They still held power, but cracks were forming in their control. Not all leaders agreed on what to do next. One part of the council believed the humans were peaceful. They said the message from the Black Fleet was a chance to fix the past. They wanted to open talks, learn from the humans, and welcome them back. Another part of the council did not trust the humans. They believed the Black Fleet was too strong, too quiet, and too clever. They thought the humans were hiding something and would soon strike. Many small groups began forming in secret. Some people started building shrines and meeting in private to talk about the humans. They called them the Forgotten Ones and believed they had returned to save the galaxy. Others gathered weapons and trained in case the humans were planning an attack. These groups believed war was coming and wanted to be ready. On the planet Varish, a research base was working to unlock the secrets of the black ships. The base had been set up near a strange space rift, a tear in the sky where the fabric of space looked twisted. Scientists believed the rift had been opened by the Black Fleet. It was smooth and stable, unlike natural rifts, which were rough and dangerous. The scientists studied it every day. They noticed that the space near it felt warmer and calmer. Lights flickered across its edge like tiny stars moving backward. One day the rift pulsed. A wave of energy moved outward, soft but strong. The machines at the base went silent for 5 full minutes. When they came back on, the rift had changed. A small object had appeared in front of it. It floated there, spinning slowly. It looked like a metal seed shaped like a tear. It gave off a light hum and glowed gently. The scientists carefully brought the object inside. It did not fight or resist. It allowed itself to be scanned and opened. Inside was a silver cube almost exactly like the one left on the Council's peace ship. This cube also held an image. It showed a large garden on a space station. Plants from many worlds grew together. Birds and animals lived peacefully. In the center was a human figure standing tall, watching over everything. Around the human were other beings, aliens, machines, even floating lights. All were working together. The image changed. It now showed ruins, broken buildings, burned ground, and empty skis. No life. Then the human figure reappeared, holding a seed. The garden began to grow again. That was all. The message was clear. The humans could destroy, but they could also rebuild. The council grew worried. This second cube felt like a warning and a hope. They had to make a choice. Would they try to speak to the humans again, or would they prepare to stop them? To make things more troubling, reports came from outer systems. Entire listening posts had gone quiet. Ships sent to check returned with strange stories. Some said they saw large shapes in the dark, ships that did not appear on scanners. Others found strange lights floating alone in space. One crew reported they heard music in their heads, soft, slow music that made them cry. None of the ships were attacked, but all the crews said the same thing. They were being watched. The feeling of being watched spread everywhere. No one felt safe anymore. Even the biggest warships began to keep their shields up at all times. The council started secret meetings to plan defenses. They did not say it openly, but they were getting ready for war. A new type of ship was built. These ships were fast and armed with powerful weapons. They were sent to protect trade routes and stations. The council called them peacekeepers, but everyone knew what they really were. The Black Fleet had not harmed anyone, but the Dominion was preparing for a battle. Not all people supported this. On the planet Saurian, a group of teachers, artists, and explorers started a group called the Bridge. They believed that the humans had returned to help. They built a giant radio dish that sent messages into deep space every day. These messages shared songs, stories, and peaceful wishes. They hoped the humans would answer. On the other side of the galaxy, a military leader named Varen Solis was thinking differently. He had lost a son in a battle long ago and believed in strength above all. He did not trust the humans and thought they were playing a long game. He believed they wanted the galaxy for themselves and were just waiting for the right time. Varen began to gather support from other commanders. He sent spies to watch the council and built a secret base on a hidden moon. He created a new kind of weapon, one that used gravity to crush ships in space. He believed it would be strong enough to destroy the Black Fleet. Varen told his followers that peace was weakness, and if they waited, it would be too late. Meanwhile, on a small moon near the center of the galaxy, something even more mysterious was happening. The moon had once been used as a mining site but had been empty for many years. A group of explorers landed there by mistake during a storm. As they searched for shelter, they found something buried deep underground. It was a human ship. It was broken and old, but the inside was still powered. Lights glowed faintly. The walls were covered in pictures and writing. The explorers took photos and returned to their home world. Scientists studied the ship and learned that it was thousands of years old. It had left Earth before the humans disappeared. It had been hidden for so long that no one knew it was there. This discovery made the news across the Dominion. People began to believe that the humans had never truly left. They had just been watching from the shadows. Back at the rift near Varish, the scientists made another discovery. They found that the rift could hear them. When they sent sounds into it, music, voices, or even simple waves, it would change color and pattern. It was as if the rift was listening. One day, a young scientist named Kessa sent her heartbeat into the rift. The rift turned bright blue, then flashed once and sent back the same pattern. The humans were listening. After this, the rift opened again. A single ship came through. It was small, shaped like a bird with wide wings. It floated near the research base and waited. The scientists were scared, but no weapons came out. Instead, the ship opened and a small object floated out. It landed gently near the base. Inside was a tree seed. A simple gift, but one full of meaning. The humans were offering peace once again. This act confused the council even more. Some said it was proof that the humans wanted friendship. Others said it was a trick. The Dominion was now divided into three parts: those who feared the humans, those who wanted peace, and those who were not sure what to believe. Across the galaxy, people began to take sides. Families argued. Leaders disagreed. Soldiers began to choose who they would follow. The Black Fleet had done very little, but their silence had caused a storm. Then something unexpected happened. A star in the outer galaxy exploded. The energy wave moved fast, destroying satellites and causing storms on nearby planets. One of the Dominion's oldest space stations was caught in the blast. Its shields failed, and it began to fall toward a gas planet. Thousands of lives were in danger. Ships rushed to help, but they were too far away. The station would crash before they arrived. Then, without warning, the Black Fleet appeared again. 5 large ships came out of the rift and flew toward the falling station. Their movements were quick and smooth. Using invisible beams of light, they caught the station and slowed it down. One of the ships docked with the station and helped move the people to safety. In less than an hour, the danger was gone. Then the fleet left again, without a word. This act changed everything. People who had feared the black ships now saw them as protectors. The council had done nothing, but the humans had saved thousands of lives. But not everyone was happy. General Varan Solis saw this as proof that the humans were gaining the trust of the people. He believed they were using kindness as a weapon. That night, he ordered his secret base to prepare the gravity weapon. He was going to strike the next time the Black Fleet showed itself. War was now close. The humans had not fired a shot, but their return had shaken the stars. The galaxy stood on the edge of something great or something terrible. The next move could lead to peace or a battle that would burn for years. Everyone was watching the sky, waiting for what would come next. The galaxy had changed. What started as a few quiet visits from black ships had grown into something bigger than anyone expected. The return of humans, once forgotten and believed to be only part of old legends, was now the center of every conversation, every meeting, and every worry. The Council of the Dominion, once so strong and sure, now faced questions they could not answer. People across many planets were choosing sides. Some believed the humans were kind. They remembered the way the Black Fleet had saved the space station from falling into the gas planet. They remembered the silver cubes and the tree seed. These were not the actions of enemies, they thought. These were signs of hope. Others were afraid. They looked at the size of the fleet, the quiet way it moved, and the powerful ships that came and went without warning. They believed the humans were waiting for the right time to strike. They said, if they wanted peace, why don't they speak? These voices were loud and they grew stronger each day. General Varan Solis, one of the most powerful military leaders in the Dominion, believed that action was needed. He did not trust the black ships. He had seen how quickly they could move. He remembered how the humans had once questioned the old council and caused trouble long ago. He believed the same thing would happen again. Only this time it would be worse. In secret, Varan had finished building his new weapon. It was hidden on a cold, quiet moon with no people. The weapon used gravity to pull and crush objects in space. It had the power to trap and destroy even the strongest ships. He called it the Chain. He believed it would stop the humans before they could grow too strong. The chain was connected to a net of satellites. These satellites could send signals through space to pull any ship into the trap. Once caught, a target would be pulled down by powerful gravity waves. No ship, no matter how fast or smart, could escape it. Varan believed he was doing the right thing. He told his officers that this was the only way to protect the galaxy. Some of them agreed. Others were unsure. But they followed his orders because they were afraid of what would happen if they didn't. At the same time, another group was working on something very different. This group was called the Bridge. It was made up of people who believed in peace. They included teachers, scientists, students, artists, and even a few former soldiers. They sent peaceful messages into space every day. They shared music, stories, and images of life on many planets. They believed the humans were listening. One day, the members of the bridge were surprised to find a message waiting for them. It had no sound or words. It was a series of lights, blinking in a pattern. The scientists studied the lights and found that they matched an old human language. It was Morse code, a system used long ago to send messages with dots and dashes. The message said, "We see you, we remember, we are ready to speak." The bridge was overjoyed. After so many days and nights of sending signals, the humans had answered. But they were also nervous. What would the humans say? What did they want? A time and place were shared in the next message. The humans would meet on a quiet moon near a red star. It was a place far from busy trade routes. There would be no crowds, no weapons, just one ship from each side. The council was unsure. They did not trust the message. They worried it might be a trap, but many people were watching. If they said no, it would seem like they didn't want peace. After many hours of talks, the council agreed to send a ship. It would carry a team of leaders, historians, and peace workers. A small escort of warships would stay far away, just in case. But Varan Solis had a different plan. He had hidden a trap at the meeting place. One of his secret satellites had been placed near the red star. It was connected to the chain. If the humans came to talk, he could catch them. He believed the council was too soft. He believed that peace was a lie. He thought, better to strike now than wait for them to strike later. He did not tell anyone, not even the council. The day of the meeting arrived. The peace ship left the council's main station and made its way to the Red Star. It moved slowly and carefully. Inside, the crew was nervous. They had been chosen to speak for the whole galaxy. They carried books, gifts, and memories of the past. They hoped the humans would listen. At the same time, one black ship arrived near the Red Star. It looked just like the others, smooth, dark, and quiet. It did not move quickly. It floated gently and waited. The peace ship approached. The two ships faced each other, alone in space. Then a bright light shone between them. A bridge of energy formed. It stretched from the black ship to the peace ship, glowing with soft blue light. It was an invitation. The crew walked across the light bridge, step by step. They entered the human ship. What they saw inside was peaceful and calm. The walls were made of soft silver metal. The air smelled like flowers. There was no fear, no weapons, just a wide room with stars shining through the ceiling. In the center stood three humans. They were tall and quiet. Their eyes were bright and their clothes shimmered like the night sky. One of them held a book. Another held a seed. The third held a light that floated just above their hand. They did not speak with words. Instead, the Dominion crew felt their thoughts. The humans shared memories, pictures, feelings. They showed how they had once been part of the galaxy, full of hope and ideas. They showed how they were pushed out, forgotten, and hunted. They showed how they had survived in dark places, building new ships, helping quietly from the shadows. They showed pain, but also forgiveness. Then they showed a picture of the future, a galaxy where humans and aliens work together, a galaxy full of gardens, music, and peace. The humans asked only one thing: "Will you walk beside us?" The peace crew cried, not out of fear but out of understanding. The humans did not want war. They wanted to return, not as rulers but as friends. But far away, Varan Solis watched from his secret command room. He saw the meeting begin. He saw the ships. He saw the peaceful light. And he gave the order. The satellites powered up. The chain was ready. A beam of gravity shot from the hidden satellite. It hit the black ship with full force. The ship shuddered. The peace crew inside fell to the floor as the ship trembled. Lights flickered. Alarms rang out. The humans stood still, their faces calm but firm. They reached out with their minds and sent a message, not just to the peace crew, but across space. You strike without cause, but we will not fall. At that moment, space bent. A dozen black ships appeared around the Red Star. They moved in silence, forming a circle. They reached out with their own energy. They pushed against the chain. And the chain broke. The gravity field shattered. The satellite cracked in two and fell into the Red Star. Varan's secret weapon was gone. The black ships did not attack. They stayed in place. They waited. The humans inside the ship helped the peace crew to their feet. No one was harmed. Nothing was broken. The light bridge returned and the crew walked back to their own ship, shaken but alive. They sent a message to the council. The humans came in peace. We were the ones who failed. They forgave us. What will we do now? When the message reached the council, the galaxy held its breath. Everyone had seen what happened. Varen's weapon had failed. The humans had not fired a shot. They had only defended themselves. Varen was arrested. His secret plans were exposed. People saw the truth. He had almost started a war. The council met again. This time there was no argument. They voted to welcome the humans back. A new age had begun. The Black Fleet returned, this time not as shadows but as friends. They visited planets, shared knowledge, and helped fix broken things. The tree seed planted by the humans grew into a huge tree, taller than any building, glowing at night. It was placed in a public garden where children played and birds sang. The humans were no longer legends. They were family. And the stars, once full of fear and silence, now sang with hope. The galaxy had been forever changed. Once the stars had only whispered about humans. They were thought to be long gone, nothing more than stories shared by old teachers or written in dusty books. But now those same humans had returned, not with war or fire, but with light, memory, and hope. Though their ships had been strong, they had chosen peace. The people of many planets had seen this with their own eyes. The Black Fleet, once feared, was now welcomed as a sign of new beginnings. After the event at the Red Star, where General Varen Solis tried to attack the peaceful human ship, trust in the Dominion began to fall apart. People could no longer believe that their leaders always acted for the good of all. Many were shocked to learn that a trusted general had nearly started a war. Some were angry, others were ashamed. But in the middle of the anger, something new began to grow, an understanding that the old way of doing things had to change. The Council of the Dominion, once firm and proud, admitted their mistake. They sent out a message to all worlds under their control. The message was simple. We chose fear over trust. The humans showed us kindness. Now we must do the same. On thousands of planets, people watched this message. Some cried, others smiled. Everyone felt the weight of what had happened. And slowly, like a garden growing after a long winter, healing began. The humans were invited to speak before the full Dominion Assembly. This gathering had never included any outside group before, but the people demanded it. A meeting hall was prepared on a neutral moon called Lessa, a place with no armies or weapons. It was peaceful, covered in soft blue grass and slow-moving rivers. Floating bridges and silver towers stood across the land, a perfect place for peace to begin. When the black ships arrived above Lessa, the skis were quiet. No fighters, no threats, only watchers. The ships landed gently as if they were made of wind. From each ship, a single human stepped out. They wore robes of deep gray with glowing stars sewn into the fabric. They carried no weapons, only gifts. One brought a flower that bloomed under moonlight. Another brought a book full of stories. The last brought a small stone that glowed warmly when touched. The meeting began with silence. Everyone waited. Then the oldest human stepped forward. Her hair was silver like snow, and her eyes were full of light. She spoke gently, her voice calm and soft. But everyone heard her clearly, as though her words floated directly into their hearts. She told the story of the humans, how they had once walked the same stars as the others, how fear had forced them into hiding, how they had lived in forgotten corners of space, helping when they could, learning all they could. She said they did not come back to rule. They came back to heal. She ended her speech with a short message. "We are not your past. We are your future if you'll have us." The whole hall stood up. Every species, every leader, every citizen stood and bowed. It was the first time in Dominion history that a full bow had been given to any outsider. But the humans were no longer outsiders. They were family. From that day forward, many changes began to shape the galaxy. First, the council was replaced, not through fighting but by agreement. A new system was built where every planet, big or small, could send a voice. Humans were given a seat too, not because they asked for it but because others wanted them there. The new group was called the Circle of Light, and its rule was based on balance, kindness, and learning. Next, old wounds were addressed. On planets where people had suffered during wars or been forgotten, help was sent. Human engineers and healers worked side by side with alien teams. They built hospitals, schools, and farms. They didn't just fix machines, they fixed hearts. Children who had never heard a kind story before now listened to tales told by smiling human elders. Farms that had once been dry now bloomed with food. On one desert world, the Black Fleet sent a rain machine. For the first time in over 50 years, water fell from the sky. Children danced and the elders wept. They said, "We thought we were lost, but now we are found." Education was the next focus. The humans shared the libraries they had built in their quiet places. These libraries were not just full of books, they were alive. Some books floated, others sang. Some opened only when you asked the right question. Children and adults alike lined up to enter these magical places of learning. A special school was built on a moon near the human fleet. It was called the Garden of Minds. There, beings from every world came to study together. They learned about each other's history, art, and science. They also learned how to solve problems without fighting. This school became the most important one in the galaxy. Leaders were chosen from among its students, not because of their power, but because of their kindness and wisdom. Meanwhile, the humans worked to fix the damage caused by General Varen's trap. They sent teams to clean the space near the Red Star. The remains of the broken satellite were carefully taken apart. Nothing was left that could be used for war again. They also helped find people who had been hurt or tricked by Varen's group. Those people were not punished harshly. Instead, they were invited to learn. Many of them changed their ways and became builders of peace. Back on Earth, yes, Earth, humans began to prepare their home once again. They had never truly left it, only hidden it. For many years it had been covered by a strong shield to keep it safe. Now that shield was lowered. Earth became a center of welcome. Beings from other planets were invited to visit, learn, and enjoy the green forests, wide oceans, and old mountains of the human homeworld. The first alien child to visit Earth was a young girl from the ice planet Morrow. She touched a tree for the first time and said, "It feels like it's breathing." Her words became famous and were written on a statue near the spaceport. The tree is breathing, and so are we. As time passed, stories replaced fear. Songs were written about the return of the humans. Statues were raised not to honor warriors, but to remember the moment when peace was chosen. Even planets that once hated the name human began to celebrate their return. But the humans did not stay still. They continued to move among the stars, not to rule but to guide. Wherever there was trouble, they sent help. Wherever there was silence, they listened. Wherever something was broken, they helped rebuild. One of the final acts of healing came when the humans invited the oldest surviving leader of the Dominion to speak at Earth's council ring. His name was Mestran Vel, and he had once voted to ban the humans from the galaxy. Now, with a heavy heart and hopeful eyes, he stood before them and said, "We were wrong, and still you chose to forgive. That is true strength, thank you." The humans answered with music, not words. Soft notes filled the air. The sky above Earth glowed with color as ships from many worlds painted the sky with lights. Children laughed, elders smiled, and for the first time in many ages the galaxy was quiet, not because of fear but because of peace. Years passed. The Black Fleet stayed, but it never grew large. It did not take over. It moved from star to star gently like a breeze. It became a symbol not of power but of protection. A special day was added to the calendar used across the galaxy. It was called Unity Day, and it was celebrated each year on the day the humans had first returned. On Unity Day, no one worked. Instead, people gathered, shared stories, and remembered what the galaxy had once nearly lost, and what it had found again. The humans, once thought to be only a dream, had returned. Not as conquerors, not as ghosts, but as friends. And under their watchful eyes, the stars grew bright once more.